So before I go into my lesson, a couple things. One is just to remind you that we're leading a trip to Italy in November of this year. So there's some flyers back there on the table if you're interested in going on. If you have questions, you can talk to me or Meredith about that. And Meredith has her table back there with some of her handiwork, so if you're interested in that, you're welcome to take a look at that. So my lesson today is called Your New Vibration. You know, and we can choose any vibration that we want to tune to. And I loved it. It was interesting this morning when we didn't have the mallets for the bowls. There was that moment of, and then the vibration started. And did you feel the shift in your energy? Out of this into, And see, and it's so easy to be in this energy, isn't it? Of what's up, what's happening, it's not the way it's supposed to be. But there's this other vibration that's always available to us, and we forget, don't we? We get so caught up in that stuff, and there's an opportunity for us to shift to that, and to recognize is that circumstances are always happening. Change, things are always moving. And if we don't have a foundation on which to be standing, to which to be clear, we're just going to be moved by whatever happens, right? And is that what we want? That's not what I want. And so recognizing that it's so important to know what it is that we want to tune to and continually bring that to our minds because we forget. And again, because remember, our conscious mind can hold about 6 things at a time. And so something happens and something else that we were thinking about falls off the table, right? Now, because this is what's occupying our mind. And so we have to find ways to continually bring back to our conscious mind the things that are important, the things that are valuable, the things that are going to really help us be what we want to be in our life. When I was in college, one of my professors had done a recording of a choir. They were singing a cappella. And during their recording, the building that they were in nearby, a motorcycle went by. And you notice how, when a vehicle goes by, as it goes by, the pitch goes down a little bit. So this a cappella choir is singing, this motorcycle goes by, and all of a sudden their pitch went down because they tuned to the sound that was there. And again, it just happens, right? And so it's so important to realize that we need to choose what we're putting in front of our mind. Now, you may have heard this, this has been online, a couple of people have done it, where there's some guys chanting and they put different words up, and depending what the words are is what you hear. So I'm going to do this for you. That's what they're actually chanting, that is embarrassing. But did what you hear change as the suggestion was up there? And so that's how easy it is for us to be moved off from what it is that we want to be focusing on. And so one of the things that I like about the white stone is that what I feel it's Spirit says, okay, for this year, here's what I want you to be tuned to. Here's what I want you to be thinking of. And if we continually come back, and put it someplace where you're going to see it once in a while, and so that you come back and go, yes, and so you can let that energy of Spirit, be what's working in your consciousness, because that's what will work out into your life, because that's what's there in your life, focusing for ourselves. So we call it a name, and the tradition comes, there's a scripture in Revelation where the Spirit is talking to the churches, and to one of the churches it says that to those who overcome, and really we can think of it in terms, and those who are in this process of overcoming, that I will give you a stone, a white stone with a new name on it, that no one will know except the one to whom it's given. And the tradition was that when someone had been imprisoned in Roman times, they would usually be marked some way. They'd have a nick out of their ear, or they would be branded on their body some way. And so if they escaped, people would know that's somebody who should be in prison. But when it was time for them to come out, they would be given a stone, a white stone, to say, this is your ticket. I'm okay, I've got my stone. And so we can think in terms of whatever we've been sort of in bondage to, what we've been imprisoned to. This stone represents a way of breaking out of that into a new expression in our life. And so that's sort of the biblical part of that. But really what it comes down to is that we get to decide what we want to tune to and practice staying tuned to that. Because again, the circumstances will happen and we'll get distracted, like with the squirrel, we'll get distracted, but we come back to that and tune to that again and again. So there's three aspects of this that I want us to look at today, and my acronym will be NEW, N-E-W. So the N stands for notice what is. Notice what's going on, not only in the physical world, but notice what is in a spiritual sense in our lives. Because our attention is mostly on what inconveniences us, isn't it? It's too hot, it's too cold, this food isn't right, they're obnoxious, whatever it is, whatever inconveniences us, that's usually where our attention is. And the Buddha put it this way, is that life is suffering. Not because life is suffering, but because we suffer. We make it us. We suffer because of the way that we tell the stories about it. It should be other than it is. And we suffer because of that. And so it's recognizing that if we're in that vibration of, this is not what I want, this is inconvenience me, this is not good, that's the vibration we're in, and that's the vibration we're emanating, and that's all we're going to see. Someone may come along with this beautiful gift, and we're not going to be able to experience it because we're at this other vibration. How many, you've all heard stories of people who win the lottery, and within a year, many of them are dead. Not just broke, many of them are dead. And the other ones who aren't dead are usually broke because they don't have that vibration of wealth. They don't have that vibration of prosperity. They're at a vibration of lack, and they're worried about people taking away from them, and so they're living in that energy. And so it just recreates itself in their life. And so what the Buddha says is life is suffering. We know that's the case, so just get over it. And don't be dealing with that level. Be vibrating with something else, looking in a different way. And David Hawkins, the author, came up with this chart of vibrations. So you can see down at the bottom is shame, guilt, apathy, grief, fear, desire, anger, pride. This 200 is sort of where we start to break through into something positive. This is actually neutrality, willingness, acceptance, wisdom, love, joy, peace, and enlightenment. And the thing is, it's not a linear scale, it's actually a logarithmic scale. So as you go up this, it's actually even wider than this graphic makes it look like. But again, look at what do you usually tune to, and what you usually tune to is what your experience is going to be, because it's going to be how the way that you see the world. And the thing is that if you're here in fear, you can't just jump to joy. You've got to be able to move up. What's the next one up? And the next one up. Take little steps, and the little steps that you take will allow you to take larger steps later on. But the key is to find what it is that you want to tune to. And see, what's the world tuned to right now? A big thing is guilt. A lot of people are tuned to this. Yeah, there's a lot of that. And fear. And so we don't want that. We want something else in our lives. And what happens is we have filters of awareness based on childhood experiences, based on the culture that we were raised in. And so we look at things, we look at people, we look at experiences through those filters, and we're not able to see greater things in our lives. And the key is that whatever vibration there is in the world, it's going to dissipate. That's the second law of thermodynamics, right? Energy dissipates. Thinking if I played one of the strings on my guitar, it would vibrate, but then that vibration would become less and less, and less and less. And so all the things in this world, the things that bug us, that upset us, that make us angry, they're all dissipating. Why are we spending energy on things that are dissipating? Why not spend energy on what we're creating, what we're sending forth, what we're moving into experience? That's more important, isn't it, than the things that are falling apart? Because that's the creative process that we're called to be in our lives. And so, what's important for us is to discern, what energy am I at? What's got my attention, and what am I vibrating with? And is that what I'm called to do? Let go of the lesser vibrations. And I really have this sense that in the experience, because sometimes we sort of use the image of darkness to describe what we're going through. But in that darkness, there's this vibration, there's this energy that's calling us, that wants us to express in a greater way. I had an experience, I may have told you about this before, but it was one of the most profound experiences of my life, besides getting married. I was in school at UCSD, I was a music major, undergraduate, but one of the graduate professors was just this weird, wonderful guy. And he would allow the undergrads to come sit in his graduate class. We didn't get any credit for it, but we got to be there. And he did an exercise one day. His suggestion was this: if in the rest of your life you only had one more word to speak, what would that word be? And he says, don't come up with it now. And he sort of physically placed us in different places around the room. And of course, we had one guy who was a wise guy, and the first thing he came up with, Rosebud, if you remember the movie with Orson Welles in it. But I was standing there, and I had this sense of an energy that was new to me, because I was a very melancholy young man. In fact, I was writing a song one day, and my grandmother was living with us at the time, and she yells across the room. She's in the other part of the house, and she goes, the guy in that song is awful sad. And I go, well, because the guy writing the song is sad. So I'm in this experience, and I feel this energy, and I didn't recognize it at first, but all of a sudden it rose up to about here, and it was joy. And of course I wanted to speak it, but I really had to say, no, don't speak it yet. And I felt that joy growing until I didn't have to speak it, because I was vibrating with that energy. But when I spoke it, there was this resonance for me, and joy has been one of my watchwords ever since that moment. And it was a big shift from melancholy to joy, but I got it. I realized what difference it made. And I ended up writing a song for my grandmother called "I'm Not Too Big, I'm Not Too Little." So it was a fun song. But it's recognizing that in that seeming darkness, when we open ourselves, there's something from Spirit that rises up. Because you think of the creation story in Genesis, what's there first? Darkness, chaos, disorganization. But there's a spoken word: let there be light. Let there be joy. Whatever the word is that you have, if you've got it written down, just say, let there be, and put your word in there. Let there be. I don't hear it. Okay. Because again, you're not vibrating for me, you're vibrating for you. So let's say it again. Let there be. Let's take it out. Let there be. Okay. So do you feel the vibration as you put that into words, as you vocalize that? That's part of what to notice what is, to notice that when we speak the word, there's an energy that we vibrate with as we do that in our lives. So decide what you want to tune to and do this. So notice what it is. Entertain the possibilities. This comes from Joel. Joel is one of the Hebrew prophets. Joel means God is God. That's what his name means. God is God. And so here's what he's saying. And God is speaking through the prophet. It shall come to pass that I will pour out my Spirit on all flesh. And so what God is saying here is that I'm everywhere present. We say in our opening statement, we said God is omnipresent, right? But what if we shift that to think of it omnipresence? That presence that is everywhere. Not just something that is omnipresent, but omnipresence. That everywhere presentness of there. So it says, I'll pour my spirit on all flesh. Your sons and daughters will prophesy. What is it? They'll speak their word, right? They'll speak that word of God. What's your word that you've written down for this year? Speak your word. Speak your word. Your old men will dream dreams. So even the old men can have dreams, right? Your young men will see visions. So this is what Spirit has for us, to be connected with this shift in our consciousness, to entertain those possibilities in our lives. Most of you probably know Steve Harvey. When he was in elementary school, his teacher gave him an assignment to write down, what do you want to be when you grow up? So what he wrote down is, I want to be on TV. And his teacher thought that was arrogant and called his mother in and had a conference about it. And so the mother came home and talked to his dad and says, you know what, he's in trouble again. Why this time? He says, well, he wrote down that he wanted to be on TV. So his dad said to Steve, let's go into your room. So his dad went in there and he says, okay, that piece of paper that you have, he says, hold on to it. Write one for your teacher that she's going to accept, but that paper, put it in your drawer and I want you to read it every morning and every evening. And he did. And guess what? He's on TV 7 days a week, isn't he? So he had this idea that at least one person encouraged him to hold on to. And because he did hold on to it, look at the results of that. And so that's what happens in our experience. Carl Jung even takes another step. He says, the decisive question is, are you related to something infinite or not? Who's related to something infinite? We all are, aren't we? We're related. It's a part of us. We're a part of it. We can't help it, right? So he goes on to say, only if we know that the thing which truly matters is the infinite, not the things that are dissipating, falling apart, can we avoid fixing our interests on futilities. That really struck me when I read that. And upon all kinds of goals which are not of real importance. If we understand and feel that here in this life we already have a link with the infinite, desires and attitudes change. Entertain possibilities. Infinite possibilities. Because they're here. They're here, and when you tune to that with the ideas, with the words, and you say them over and over again, write songs about them, paint pictures about them, write poetry about it, that energy begins to grow in greater and greater ways. Someone posted this picture online. In the midst of the old, dying, decaying, it's life. And so we can look at our lives and say, oh, well, you don't know my story. It's this and this and this bad thing, this horrible thing. I don't care. Because that's the part of life that's falling apart. Why is it falling away? So that something new can come. And so we say, the tide's going out. Don't worry. It'll come back in. Yeah. Oh, this is changing. Don't worry. Something new is emerging. Something new is emerging. Entertain the possibilities of that working in your life. Here's the way Jesus put it. He says, with man, this is impossible. Man, generic man, with us human, it's impossible. But with God, all things are possible. All things? Mm-hmm. So what are we going to be willing to focus on in our lives? And again, one more from Scripture here. This is from Isaiah. Behold, and God speaking through the prophet says, behold, I'm doing a new thing. Now it springs forth. Do you not perceive it? Don't you get it? God is saying, don't you get it? I will make a way in the wilderness. So think in wilderness, there's no pathway, right? But God's saying, I will make a way in the wilderness, and I will bring rivers in the desert. Deserts would be different if they had rivers, wouldn't they? Our lives are different when we open up to this flow of Spirit to entertain the possibilities. So notice what is, not just the physical, notice that there's a spiritual presence that you're a part of. Entertain the possibilities, and then weave what you are called to be into what you are doing, how you're expressing in your life. When Joshua was challenging the Israelites before they went into the promised land, he says, choose this day who you're going to serve. He says, you've got all kinds of gods you can worship. You have all kinds of ideas you can work with. Whatever you want, choose. Choose so that you're focused, so that you know what you're about in your life. And again, change is always happening. And so when we're clear about our energy, our vibration, then we can inject that energy, that vibration into things as they change. You know, there's been research done that if you sing to plants, they grow better. They're going to grow anyways if you have some basic taking care of them. But if you sing to them, you're injecting a different energy into them. They grow in a larger way. And that's the way all of life is. As we are our clear vibration, our light vibration, our joy vibration, our love vibration, that's what will move into things as they unfold. Think about our bodies. The physical cells that we have are not the ones we had 2 years ago, right? These are new cells, so they sort of look wrinkled and old, but no. And if we are thinking health and life and joy and strength, as these new cells are formed, that's the energy that they will entertain, that they'll be working with, that they'll be vibrating with in our lives as we do that. So it's so important. I do have another Bible verse, another one from Isaiah. The way it's usually translated is, you will keep in perfect peace those whose minds are stayed on you and remain in you. But another way to translate it is that you will keep them in perfect peace, those who keep their purpose firm. Those who keep those purpose firm will be at peace, even as things don't seem to be working out right away the way that we want. Because again, when we're changing the energy of something, we're not going to change the whole energy at once. We can change this part, and then we can change this part, and then we can change this part. So if we stay firm in that, we'll be peaceful as we're making those changes, and as it does, take refuges, which means to make Spirit your home. To make Spirit your home, where you always come back to be renewed and strengthened. Think about the story of the walls of Jericho coming down. Joshua had the Israelites, they were coming along. Jericho was a fortified city. In that place, they would build their cities up on a hill, and build a wall around it, protect. And so the Israelites would come along, and so God told Joshua, have them take the ark, and the Israelites go walk around the city and go back to camp. Second day, God says, have them bring the ark, and the people go around the city once, go back to camp. What's that doing? Doesn't look like much has changed, does it? Third day, bring the ark and the people once around Jericho, back to camp. Fourth day, same thing. Fifth day, same thing. Sixth day, ark and the people once around, back to camp. Seventh day, around once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, 6 times, 7 times, and then tell the people to shout. And what happened? The walls came tumbling down, right? We all know the song, right? And so there was that preparation time, and then that time of focus. And so when we bring that energy that we're trying to create, that we're trying to move, and we keep it in our minds, we keep it in our hearts, we keep it in our lips. And again, there's not everybody that we're going to say it out loud to. We don't have to. If it's vibrating in us, we don't need to say it out loud. It's vibrating in us. And that's what the energy that will move into the things of our life. So, are you doing the 12 powers this year? We don't know yet. Okay, so January is usually faith. So and when you think of the 12 powers, if you're familiar with them or not, doesn't matter. There's 12 energy like the systems in the body, like the chakras. And if you think of light, and if you have a prism, a glass prism, and the light goes through the prism, you get the rainbow of colors. Well, if we think of the Christ light of what we are, and we have the prism of consciousness, we see these 12 powers. The one for January is faith. And so faith is that sort of place where we begin. And I like to think of focused faith, because we're using our faith all the time. If we say, well, I don't believe that's going to work, we're using our faith to think that's not going to work. You know, usually fear and worry are faith and stuff that we don't want, which is a weird thing when you think about it. We're investing energy in things that we don't want. So if we think of this Christ vibration that's available to us, again, whatever word we have is a part of this Christ vibration. So but we want to be in tune with all of it too as well. So let's say this together. I am in tune with the Christ vibration. So I want you to feel that there's this vibration of the Christ. It's infinite, it's eternal, it's an expression of the divine. It's a way of understanding who we get to be, who we're created to be, as expressions of God. The Christ light, that Christ vibration. Let's say it again. I am in tune with the Christ vibration. So to take it another step, here's the phrase that I use. I am a sound vibration of the infinite and eternal radiance of the Christ. I am a sound vibration. So again, I don't have to make it vibrate, it's already vibrating. I just get to ride along with this vibration. I'm a sound vibration of the infinite radiance of the Christ. We, because now I'm conscious of being connected with this, we infuse humanity with, we can do the 12 powers, faith, strength, love. We can do that. But I invite you, if you have your word or phrase on the white stone, to put that in this space. So I'm a sound vibration of the infinite eternal radiance of the Christ. I'm going to use joy for now. We infuse humanity with joy. So again, I'm not alone on this. I'm vibrating with Spirit, with Christ. So fill in your blank with your, and let's say it together. I am a sound vibration of the infinite and eternal radiance of the Christ. We infuse humanity with joy. Does that work for you? Yes. Okay, take a picture of it with your phone. I'll leave it up there a minute. So what are the results as we do this? A new resonance, a new energy, a new vibration, a new experience in life. And again, in whatever we create, it's going to dissipate. And so we have to introduce that energy again and again. You know, some people say, well, motivation doesn't work, because you got to get motivated again. Well, how about eating? Does eating work? You know, you got to eat again, don't you, if you're going to be in physical form. So here it is. And realize that we don't want to be like that choir that allowed itself to get out of tune because of something that went by. We want to know what we're tuned to. We get to choose what we're tuned to. But we have to remind ourselves, at least I have to remind myself, again and again and again and again. But as I do that, there's a powerful, powerful shift that we experience in our lives. So let's just say again, I am tuned to the Christ vibration. I am tuned to the Christ vibration. And so we are. Amen.